Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is March 3rd, 2024, and Barcelona just drew against Athletic Club de Bilbao in San Mamés 0-0, wasting a really good chance to stay alive in the race for La Liga title and to cut the distance between them, Real Madrid and Girona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and this is the post-match live analysis where we analyze Barcelona matches as soon as they end and where I get to interact with you wonderful people in the chat section by answering any questions you guys have and reading your comments out loud and getting the discussion going. Of course, this is not to be confused with the Barca News podcasts, which are on every Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we get to talk about Barcelona news. By the way, you guys asked for it, and I decided to deliver. But I will be collaborating with Barca Boy on Saturday. I can't remember what date that is. March 9th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to be a guest on Barca Boy live podcast or live stream. So make sure you guys check it out. I'll give you more details as the days go by. We're still in talks to get it arranged. So very exciting to do my first collaboration. But yeah, again, Barca News will be collaborating with Barca Boy next Saturday. Anyways, let's talk about today's match. Today's horrific, boring, snooze fest of a match. If it wasn't for this live stream that I had to do after the match ended, I would have taken a nap throughout the match because it was so boring to watch. Incredibly awful football that I kept falling asleep and I had to keep getting up, slapping myself around because I'm like, okay, you have to watch because otherwise I'm going to be sitting here in the live stream without anything to say. But absolutely horrific match. Barcelona seemed to take one step forward and 10 steps back because after the match against Getafe, where Barcelona performed really well, where we had a very convincing and dominant win, winning 4-0, I said, if Barcelona can build upon this success, they can continue improving, then perhaps we have a shot at competing for the title. But I said, of course, it would all depend on how Barcelona react, because there was also previous occasions where we won against Real Betis, where we won against Royal Antwerp, and it seemed like Barcelona had turned a page, but then they went back to playing horribly. And when it seems like the win against Getafe is just another one of those exceptions, like the win against Betis or the win against Royal Antwerp, where once again, we have fallen into our old habits. It's the same Barcelona that we've seen throughout the whole season. Incredibly slow play, very slow movement of the ball, highly predictable team, a team that doesn't generate any kind of chances, any kind of danger. In fact, during the second half, we didn't have a single shot on target, which is absolutely mind-blowing, especially given the circumstances of the team, because we had Real Madrid that dropped points against Valencia. They drew, so they dropped 2 points. We had Girona who lost against Mallorca, so they dropped 3 points. Then we had Atletico de Madrid who won their match. So this was our opportunity to get 3 very important points, to cut the distance between us and Girona, cut the distance between us and Real Madrid, stay alive in La Liga race title, and continue building a cushion between us and Atletico de Madrid. But instead, we completely squandered that opportunity. And given the circumstances, I expected the team to come out on the field ready, mentally ready to kill, ready to run their asses off, ready to play as good as possible. Because again, this was our chance to stay alive for the La Liga title race. But instead, we reverted back to our old habits. An incredibly slow, boring Barca, highly predictable Barca, a Barcelona that doesn't generate anything. No footballing ideas, no idea how to attack, just moving the ball side to side, hoping for some miracle to happen. Anyways, let's start with the chat section. and then we will talk about the lineup and the players. But very frustrating day. But I guess that's where we at. All right, let's see. What is everybody saying? Avi says, we always waste these opportunities. Yes, we do, my friend. Yes, we do. Kill Bill says, Xabi showed again how incompetent he is tactically. No structure at all. He can learn a lot from De Zerbi. Look, I don't know who he can learn from, but by now it's pretty clear that Xabi is indeed incompetent. He has no idea on how to structure a team, on how to organize a team, on how to build a system of play, on how to implement mechanisms, on how to develop an identity. But the crazy part is that people still defend him. Just yesterday, people were commenting on my video where I criticized Xavi's defending him, which is mind-blowing. Are you not watching these matches? Are you living in some alternate universe where Barcelona are playing amazing football? Are you maybe watching replays of other Barcelona teams that you can't see? Because I'm pretty sure and I'm positive that people will come out somehow, some way to defend today's result. They'll say, oh, well, no, it's a good result. We drew against Athletic Club, where the last match we played, we lost. It was positive because maybe, I don't know, we drew at San Mamés, which is a difficult stadium. Oh, it was because Pedri and Frankie got injured. I'm sure people will find excuses because that's what Xabi apologists do. They just always find excuses. But at what cost? Because if you're okay seeing this, if you're okay with our team being mediocre, with our team playing mediocre football, with the Barca name being dragged through the mud, through all the fields of La Liga, if you're okay with that, then that's exactly what you're promoting with your mediocrity and with your constant support and applause of Xabi. Xabi's the best. How? Based on what? What exactly are you seeing Barcelona do that makes you say Xavi's a great coach? Is that how mediocre of a team we've become, where we're not only okay with mediocrity, but we actually applaud it? Because today's match was absolutely embarrassing. Not a single shot on target in the second half. But of course, there's always the excuses. I'm sure we'll hear the excuses. It was Pedri, it was Frankie, the wind was too strong, the sun was too bright, the grass was too green, the ball wasn't inflated enough. I'm sure we'll hear it. By now, I'm used to it. But Barian says, hey, Mo, hope you are as angry as disappointed as I am. What in the name of football are Barcelona doing? How on God's green earth have we gone to being this bad? This is really saddening. I 100% agree with you. But again, I'm sure we'll see the Xabi apologists somehow, some way try to justify this. It's because we don't have Dembélé. It's because Jordi Alba left. It's because Piqué retired. It's mamma mia. Mamma mia. Anyways, let's get back and talk about the lineup. My computer is right now having a heart attack. But this is the lineup that Xavi Hernandez started out with. And then we'll talk about the players as well. Of course, Ter Stegen in goal with Jules Koundé on the right back and Joao on the left back. Pau Cubarsí and Ronald Araujo as our two center backs. Now, when discussing the defensive line, I do have to say one positive thing about today's match. And I don't know if you want to call it a positive, but I guess relatively speaking positive, is this is the first time that Barcelona have not conceded in 2 consecutive matches since October. So on one hand, yeah, it's a pretty sad statistic. But on the other hand, I guess it is a positive thing that we did not concede in 2 matches in a row for the first time in 4 months. But the reason I bring that up is because it begs the question, is it because we have Pau Cubarsí? Because Pau Cubarsí was not really getting that much minutes during the first half of the season. Now he's getting a lot more, and all of a sudden, we have stopped the bleeding. Is it because, so that begs the question, is it because Cubarsí, or is it just because the whole defensive line is playing better? Because today, once again, we had an incredible match by Cubarsí. He saved us several times. He's very good at reading plays and anticipating the passes. That what allows him to really intercept the passes, to tackle, to make timely tackles. And once again, Kuarsi is showing us what an imperial defender is, because it's ironic. It's funny because when first Xavi started opting out for Paco Kuarsi, I imagine people were having like a meltdown, like, oh my God, how can Xavi pick Kuarsi over Mika Faye, blah, blah, blah. And well, this is why. This is how I think Kuarsi is showing us that he's undoubtedly going to become one of the best center backs in Europe, if not in the world. And once again, he had an incredible match, but later he was subbed off, which I did not understand that substitution, but we'll get back to it. Let's talk about Koundé, because he did have another good match. He had a good match against Getafe last weekend. Once again, another good match by Koundé in the attack. I think he's once again getting comfortable playing in the right back position. I understand that he prefers to play center back, but I don't understand why he objects so much to playing the right back, because he's actually good and he's a very decent option in there. And I know he went through a really bad form halfway through the season, but it seems to be recovering his form, because this is the second match where I saw Koundé very active in the attack, breaking lines with his runs, breaking lines with his passes. So very good match by Koundé, of course, relatively speaking, because overall the whole team was just awful. And even a better match by Joao Cancelo, who this time was not as a defensive liability as he's been in previous matches. So very important there, because Cancelo has always been, offensively speaking, one of the best fullbacks in the world, undoubtedly, but he's always leaving a lot of space behind him, between him and the defensive line, or between him and the goalkeeper. But today, not the case. Today, Cancelo was very active defensively. He was constantly tracking back to help with the defense, and he did not leave us exposed through that left flank. So very good job by Joao Cancelo. A huge improvement defensively speaking, but of course, offensively speaking, he didn't contribute much. But again, the whole team didn't. So that's not really, something to blame it on him. Now, in the midfield, we did have, of course, Andreas Christensen in a pivot position, Gundogan, and then Frankie de Jong as interiors, with Christensen as the pivot. This match, I was not too impressed with Christensen. I think previous matches he was kind of adequate. Today, I think he was exposed a little. Now, I'm not going to say he had a terrible match, because that's not the case, but it wasn't perhaps as adequate as previous matches. I noticed him a little bit slow in anticipating plays, a little bit slow in reading and reacting to the situations, which meant that he would arrive too late to tackle a player or to try to take the ball from a player, which is in that pivot position is very important, right? Busquets, what made him such a great pivot wasn't because he was such a fast or physical player, because he wasn't. Busquets has always been slow. And if you look at his physique, I mean, he's a twig. So he's never been the fast physical player. What made him really good is his ability to anticipate plays, right? And Cruyff always said, if you can anticipate a play, you can appear to be the fastest player, or you can beat much faster players just by anticipating what's about to happen. And that's why Busquets was such a great pivot, because he was always able to anticipate. So he was always able to intercept passes, get there before they happened, because he saw it coming. And I saw Christensen very slow in doing that today. Of course, this was his first big test against a strong team or stronger team, because the previous matches have all been much weaker teams. And I was not too impressed. Again, not a terrible job. I'm not saying don't ever play him in that position again, but definitely showing us that Christensen, or at least for now, based on what we're seeing now, he is just a temporary solution and he cannot be a permanent one. Who knows? Maybe he continues to improve. After all, it's a new position for him. Maybe by the end of the season, he'll be much better. But as of today, March 3rd, I think we can see that Christensen perhaps is not a permanent solution, but more of a temporary one, which is a shame, because I was hoping that he could become a permanent solution. That way Barcelona could save money in the summer and perhaps not have to sign any pivots and just have him. But for now, it looks like we're still going to have to sign one. But again, things could change. So we'll see how he does by the end of the season. All right, let's get back to the comment section with Tilobo says Lewandowski only plays well inside the other team's box. For scoring in a game like this, we needed speed, we needed Vitor Orgiu, Yamal, Felix, some speed to press them back, but no. Look, I get it that Xavi wanted Lewandowski to start ahead of Roque or Guiu because he's a more experienced one. But by the 60th minute, Lewandowski was just done. He was exhausted. He was tired. He wasn't even running. He was completely disconnected. And what does Xavi do? He brings in Inigo and Uriol. But I'm the toxic one. I'm the hater when it criticizes Xavi. But Xavi goes ahead and bring Uriol and Inigo when you're drawn, when you're still tied 0-0, and when Lewandowski can't even make runs anymore because he's just completely exhausted. But it's because we don't have Busquets, or it's because the board didn't sign Subimendi. Yeah, because the board not signing Subimendi is why Xavi makes these silly mistakes, like not bringing in Roque or Guiu for the place of Lewandowski, who was completely shot. He was walking, dragging himself through the field. That's all the fault of Barcelona board not signing Subimendi, right? My God. All right, Curtis says, Mo, continue to speak the truth about Xavi and do not be concerned about these followers. The truth is the truth. 100% agree with you, my friend. I think the problem is that people misplace devotion. Because as Barcelona fans, our devotion is supposed to be towards our club, towards FC Barcelona. We're supposed to be devoted to our club. We're supposed to love our club unconditionally, not the members of the club, not the president, not John Laporta, not the players, not the coach. That's not who we're supposed to love unconditionally. We're supposed to love the club as an institution unconditionally. Because what happens when you love a player unconditionally or a coach unconditionally is that no matter what they do, you're always going to be, yay, right? If a player does horribly because you love them unconditionally, you're like, yay, good for you. And it's like, no. The way you're supposed to be is if a player does great, bravo. If a player does bad, yo, we need to call it out. You need to improve. And if not, if you can't improve, you need to head out. Because the club comes first, not the players, not the coach. And I think when it comes to Xavi, we have misplaced devotion to Xavi Hernandez, where people just like, I'm going to love him no matter what he does. If he does great, awesome. If he does bad, still awesome. If he does okay, also awesome. And that's how teams become mediocre, when you're just okay with their mediocrity because you're going to applaud them no matter what. And that's not the solution to it. But what do I know? I'm just a Xavi hater. All right, we got our first donation of the live stream, Mustafa. Wait, why doesn't it want to pin it? Hold on. My computer's having a meltdown. I can hear the fan. Anyways, there we go. Mustafa, thank you, my friend, for your donation. He says, when will Vitor Roque get green light from his injury so our mediocre manager will start playing it? The thing is, he's not injured. Vitor Roque is fully healthy. And the reason why our mediocre coach is not starting him is absolutely beyond me, because why did we pay 30 million euros to sign him and then paid extra money to bring him earlier before summer if he's just going to sit on the bench? Because he could have done that in Brazil. He could have just stayed at home in a nice weather of Brazil instead of paying all this money to bring him, and he's just sitting on the bench. I don't understand it. But anyways, let's get back to the lineup because I do want to talk about more players. Let's talk about Frankie de Jong because it's not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. Not looking good at all. We all saw the images with how he lands, his ankle, complete 90 degrees, and he couldn't even walk off the field. He had to be carried in that little cart, the golf cart, and then he was taken directly to the locker room. That right there is alarming because players usually, when they get a knock, when they get just like a little bruise or something, they usually just go and sit down. They get subbed and they just sit down on the bench. But Frankie, they took him straight into the locker room, which means that there's something serious there. And the way his ankle twisted, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully it's just, an ankle twist and he can be back in 2-3 weeks. Hopefully there's no tears of ligaments or anything like that, because that did not look good. So I wish Frankie a speedy recovery, and I hope that it's nothing serious, because what we saw just And he also got dizzy from his face. It looked like he got dizzy from the pain. So you can only imagine what he was feeling. So really bad luck on that front. And of course, our other bad luck, Pedri, getting injured once again. We don't know, of course, the severity of any of the two injuries. We won't know until tomorrow. Medical exams are usually conducted the following day because they want to wait for the inflammation to go down, especially in the case of Frankie with that twist. Probably pretty inflamed. And that does affect imaging, like x-rays, CT scans, etc. So medical exams are usually performed the following day. So if you start hearing reports, oh, Frankie out for a month, for a year, I don't know, do not listen to them until tomorrow. We won't know for sure until tomorrow. But Pedri, it looked like it was a little bit more positive because he was able to walk off the field. He also did not go into the locker room. He went straight to the bench. But they are saying that he has re-injured the same muscle that he has injured before. So if that's the case, it could be bad. It could be a long injury. And I think at this point, Pedri's case is starting to become worrisome. Because I think that one season where he was 17 years old and he played pretty much every competition with Barca and then played the Euros with Spain, then played the Olympics with Spain, I think that has caused irreparable damage. Hopefully that's not the case. But we're starting to see another Dembele on our hands, where Dembele was the same thing. The reason why he was constantly getting injured was because he was overused when he was a teenager. And we did the same thing to Pedri. So it's starting to look like what Pedri went through under Koeman is going to have long repercussions. Now, I pray to God that I'm wrong, but that's what it's starting to look like, which should be a very important lesson and an important message to Barcelona that they need to be careful with Lamine Yamal. We cannot do the same thing to Lamine Yamal that we did to Pedri, and we cannot do the same thing to Lamine Yamal that I think it was Rennes, I can't remember what team, did to Dembele. But anyways, let's get back to the lineup real quick. And I don't know what happened here, but it's not loading. I'm telling you, my computer is just having a meltdown. Anyways, there we go. All right, so let's talk about our front line, because we had Lewy as our center forward and, of course, Raphinha. And Pedri on the wing. Just going to do this, see if that helps. But let's talk about Raphinha, because back to his old habits, an ineffective player that cannot dribble past his own shadow. But people still also defend Raphinha, which is how beyond me, especially after his match against Getafe, where he had a really good match, scored a goal, provided an assist. I said it on here. I said Raphinha had a really brilliant match. Good job. I hope he continued building on it. And people were quick to comment, oh, see, you always talk crap about Raphinha, but see, he's so great. And this is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Raphinha, whether you think he's great or not, he's not a Barca player. And the reason why he's not a Barca player, because Raphinha is a good player that can make runs behind the defender's back. That's what he's good for, which is what we saw against Getafe. Getafe used a high defensive line, leaving a lot of space between them and the goalkeeper. And those are the situations that Raphinha thrives in, running behind that defensive line and taking advantage of those spaces through long passes. So Raphinha is a player that's perfect for a counter-attacking team. If Raphinha was at Atletico de Madrid, I'm pretty sure he would be having some pretty amazing seasons. But we're not a counter-attacking team. And most teams, when they play against us, they do not play with a high line. There's only been 2 occasions all season where we've seen that. It's Las Palmas, where Xavi did not know how to take advantage of that. And then the second time was against Getafe, which for the first time, Xavi was able to take advantage of that and was able to use Raphinha properly, and he was able to score a goal and provide an assist. So this is why I always say Raphinha is not the right player for Barcelona. But people take it to heart. Like I just said, their mothers is not good enough for Barcelona. Because there's a difference between saying a player is good enough for Barcelona versus a player is just bad. You know, and saying a player is not good enough for Barcelona, it doesn't mean that the player is bad. just means they're not a right fit, right? For example, Ibrahimovic was one of the most prolific attackers of our time. But when he came to Barca, he didn't work out because he was not fit for Barca. Does that mean Ibrahimovic was bad? No. So when I say that Raphinha is not Barca level, I'm not trying to insult the guy or say he's a horrible player. He's a decent player, but he's just not fit for Barca because of his style of play. He's not a winger that can dribble past defenders, and for Barca, you need that because most teams, when they play against Barca, they play with a compact defensive block. Whether it's a low block or not, it's always a compact block. And in order to break those blocks, you need wingers who can dribble past defenders to create space, to make it to the back line, and then do crosses to the box. And Raphinha cannot do that. And today, we saw it again, right? Because, yes, he did have a great match against Getafe, but that's not what defines a great player. Having one great match is not what makes a player great. It's how many great matches a season can that player have. Is it 1 out of 10? Is it 5 out of 10? Is it 7 out of 10? Right? A great player has 80% of his matches are great. Of course, nobody can have 100%. That's impossible. Even Messi had some pretty horrible matches. But a great player can keep up a great performance through at least 70, 80% of all his matches. Raphinha, he gives us 1 good match, 10 bad matches. So just because he had a 1 great match against Getafe, that does not make him a great player and totally fit for Barca, like people still trying to say that Raphinha is Barca level. But anyways, let's get back to the chat section, and then we will talk about the substitutions. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Oh, let me put my glasses on like an old man. But Trick Shot Slot says Xabi does his best coaching only when he's on the sideline throwing a temper tantrum because Barca weren't given a penalty in the final moments at the match. That's true. FC Barcelona fan channel says, damn, Xabi spent 70 mil, I guess, on Raphinha. Why not brought a pivot knowing that Busquets is old and might leave? But I don't know, my friend. Beats me. Let's see. Chuchu says next game, no Araujo and Xabi Deng. Yeah, so Araujo will miss next match because he has collected 5 yellows. I don't think necessarily will be in trouble. Obviously, Araujo is a very important key player, but we do have Cubarsí now. Of course, we have Iñigo who can fill in. If anything, we can bring down Christensen, but of course, that will also depend on what happens to Frankie. I think we're covered as far as the center back positions, but of course, losing Araujo is always, painful. The good thing is next match is against Mallorca. So even though technically speaking, it should be an easier match, but with this team, you never know. But at least it's not, against Real Madrid, right? I guess or I don't know, Atletico de Madrid. At least that's not the case. Okay. Let's see. What else? Where did we leave off? Chris says, I can't be that Pedri's muscle is permanently weak. Dembele is playing without injuries since September. I mean, look, it has to be that his muscle is weak because he's been suffering so many injuries. And it's not even, you can't even attribute it to the calendar because, now we're playing 1 match a week. And Pedri has been going through this injury stints under Xabi, under Koeman. So definitely it has to be that his muscle's weak. Now, in case of Dembele, I'm guessing they hired him some proper trainers where they have, give him some pretty good exercises, some specifically designed exercises for him and diet in order to strengthen his muscle. But Dembele, even his physical trainer always said, like, the reason why he was so muscularly weaker and he was so pro to injury was because he was overused when he was a teenager. And we did the same thing to Pedri, and that's what's happening. Now, can it be fixed? That's a good question. I think we're going to have to see whether we can find a special formula for him, some specifically designed exercises for him, and a diet to strengthen back his muscles. But I definitely think that that's what it is because there's no other way to explain his constant injuries. I mean, these are not injuries that Pedri are suffering because someone tackled him hard or he fell or he twisted his ankle like Frankie. No, these are all muscular injuries. Igor says he didn't play a great game versus Getafe, just a good one because he missed 2 clear sitters and actually lost the ball pretty often, which is the perfect evidence of his level. I agree, but I still, I like to give credit when credit is due. He still scored a goal, he still provided an assist, so I cannot say it was horrible, but I agree he did miss 2 clear shots, which he had missed the same 2 clear shots in a previous game. So that means he's only made 1 out of 5 when he's gone face to face with a goalkeeper. But there's people who still think Raphinha is Barca level. I mean, this is the point where we at, where people applaud things like Raphinha and Xabi's coaching, and they think it's good. They think it's good enough. I think this is how low we've fallen, where Xabi is a great coach for Barca and Raphinha is a great winger for Barcelona. This is where we at. Anyways, let's talk last thing about, I do want to discuss real quick and highlight what a wasted opportunity was today's match, because this is how La Liga table is looking right now. We had Real Madrid who dropped points against Valencia, so perfect opportunity for us to cut the distance, but instead we decided to draw as well, so keeping a distance between us and Real Madrid to 8 points instead of cutting it down to 6. Girona, they dropped points. They lost against Mallorca yesterday, or it wasn't today, 1-0. So had we won, we would have jumped to second place, 61 points to Girona's 59. But no, we decided that we like third place. Why not? Third place sounds like a cool, it's a nice number. It's bronze medal. I guess bronze is important. It goes in a lot of electronics. And then we have Atletico Madrid, who are now breathing down our necks with only 3 points behind us. See, had we won, we would have kept the distance to 5 points, but instead, we shortened it down to 3 points. And this is very crucial because we have to play against Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitana. So if Atletico Madrid win that match, which is a very good, possibility, given that they're playing at home, and at home they are undefeated, then they could easily steal our third spot, which then puts us at risk of being out of the Champions League. And this is why today's match was so frustrating, because here we had a perfect opportunity to jump to second place, cut the distance between us and Real Madrid, stay alive in the competition, keep the same cushion between us and Atletico Madrid. And you expect the team was going to come out ready to kill, with Xabi, having prepared for this match. But instead, we fell back into our own habits, a totally boring, slow Barca, highly predictable Barca, with substitutions that made absolutely no sense to me. 75th minute, 0-0. Your team is not doing anything. You haven't had a single shot at goal. And what does Xabi do? He brings in Íñigo Martínez and Oriol Romeu. What that substitution, and look, substitutions are a signal to players, whether they realize it consciously or subconsciously. But when you bring in a defensive midfielder and another center back, the message you're sending to your players is that you're okay with the draw. You're saying, all right, 0-0. Oh, well, we tried it. Fuck it. Let's protect the 0-0. Let's bring in a defensive midfielder and another center back so we can continue defending. That's what you're saying. So imagine you're a player on the field. You're Ilkay. You are, I don't know, Lamine Yamal. You are Joao Felix. You are Lewandowski, who's completely exhausted. And you're trying to summon whatever little gas you have left in your tank. And you're trying to continue attacking because you want to salvage the 3 points. You want to score that goal. You want to win that match. And your coach puts in 2 defensive guys. What do you think those players' reaction is going to be when they see that? They'll be like, well, shit, if my coach doesn't care about winning, why should I? I'm freaking exhausted. My body hurts. I'm thirsty. I'm tired. I'm like trying to summon whatever energy and power I have to like run more. And my coach doesn't even give a shit because he just put in 2 defensive guys. Well, if he doesn't care, why should I? Okay, I'll just walk around, right? Which is exactly what Lewandowski was doing. He was just walking around the final 20 minutes, completely exhausted, out of energy. And instead of bringing Vitor Roque or Margiu, he brings in Oriol Romeo and Iñigo Martinez. But hold on, guys. It's not Xavi's fault the team is doing like this. It's because Barcelona did not sign Subimendi. This is why. See, had Barcelona signed Subimendi, Xavi would have taken out Lewandowski and put in Vitor Roque. It's Barcelona's fault, okay? Don't forget that. It's never Xavi's fault. It's always someone else's. Anyways, let's do a few more comments and then we'll end the live stream. And then I do have to make the news videos for today because I have not done those yet. All right, let's see. Tanika says, Xavi football is so outdated, slow passing, no intensity, no attack plays, the same players. How does he allow them play like that as he is the coach? I would fire Xavi right now. So tired of his biased ways. The problem is I think the players have just lost faith in him. I mean, even when you hear the players talk and try to defend or support Xavi, it always sounds like they're defending a friend. Like, oh, we feel bad and we're going to, come together for him. So to me, it doesn't sound like they see Xavi as a leader. I think to me, it sounds like they see him as someone who's a good guy, who's a nice guy, who's their friend in the locker room, which I think that lies the problem too, because at the end of the day, as a coach, you're not there to be anyone's friend. You're there to lead a team and be the leader. And when people have a leader that they believe in, that they want to follow, that they're willing to follow, they will do anything for that leader. But when it's just a friend, okay, I got your back. It's okay. Let me hug you. I don't know. That's what it sounds to me like. The team have just completely lost faith in him. Emmanuel says, I can't really understand. Why didn't Xavi stick with the lineup used against Getafe? Why play Pedri as a winger when he has natural wingers like Felix? Why leave Lewy and not bring in Roque? I agree, except Felix is not really a natural winger. But I do get your point. I think Joao on the wing would have made more sense than Pedri. But I don't know. I guess it's because Barcelona didn't sign Subimendi. Trickshot Slaw says Arsenal would beat the absolute piss out of Barcelona. My friend, any team would beat the piss out of Barcelona. And Alex says MLS teams have more movement with the ball than this Barca team. By the way, I watched the highlights, not the full match. Inter Miami versus Orlando. 5 goals, guys. Messi 2 goals, Suarez 2 goals. It was a really cool thing to watch. Jordi, Luis Suarez, Messi, Busquets all back together. It was really cool. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, for your likes, for your donations, for your comments, your subscriptions. You guys are absolutely amazing. I will see you in the news video. But as always, Visca Barça.